Dr. Goh was the man Lee Kuan Yew would turn to whenever there was a crucial task.
And today I can say without any reservation, if I am confronted with a military problem, I will not only consult the SAF General Staff, I will also have a quiet word with Dr. Goh, because he has read up and studied the art of war and the science of weaponry. He applied himself. It is a total discipline in itself. He has, you name them and he's read them. Sun Tzu, Clausewitz, Little Heart. He used to pass me the books. I say, wait a minute. I'm not your chief of staff and I don't want to be. He says, no, you're prime minister, you must know this.
He always operated on philosophy that if he was Minister of Defense, he always ought to be fully alert as to what is going on. And therefore, if the Prime Minister were to come along to raise something, if he had been very good as a Defense Minister, would have thought about it before the Prime Minister. So I think that also was in many ways an inspiration to many people who worked in MINDEF. The fact that when we are in charge of something, we feel deep responsibility to know everything that's going on.
He knew that Dr. Goh was someone who could come up with fresh ideas, fresh insights. And when you start something, you have nothing to fall back on and follow precedents and do it the same way that other people did it. And so if you had a completely new project, say if you didn't have an SAF and you had to start an SAF, Dr. Goh would be ideal because he had the depth and the of perspective and insights to produce solutions and start afresh with no benchmarks to fall back on.
He read widely. You couldn't pull a fast one. I remember somebody who wanted to sell a plane or something came to him. And of course, volumes of papers came about saying how good it is and so on. All he called up and said, the man came, typical salesman. I wouldn't want to name the country. They said, oh, has this plane, where has this plane been used? Which terrain? The terrain. Next plane is, have you sold it to anybody? Not yet. Okay, thank you. When you've sold it to somebody and it's been used in combat, come and talk to me. Finished, conversation ended. Agenda item passed in 5 minutes.
When the British withdrew their troops from Singapore in 1971, Dr. Goh seized the opportunity to turn adversity into opportunity on the defence front. It became the catalyst which speeded up the growth of Singapore's own armed forces. In 3 years, he had tripled the army strength.
One of the things which impressed me most was there was this saying by Dr. Goh, which you could see in various SAF units and in MINDEF, where they quoted him as saying that the only way to avoid making mistakes is not to do anything, and that in the final analysis will be the ultimate mistake. I think that's a spirit of change, a spirit of trying, a spirit of innovation, a spirit always of questioning what you ought to do for the future, because you cannot assume that what you're doing today is good enough for the future. So I think that kind of spirit pervades the whole of MINDEF.
Although he saw defence spending as necessary, Dr. Goh's economic training and frugal nature was always searching for more productive ways to spend the money.
At one time, military officers from the various bases, they would go to the HQ for meetings or to go to other bases for meetings. And they would get there using their Land Rovers. When Dr. Goh discovered that per kilometer basis, it is more expensive to use a Land Rover than an ordinary car, he immediately forbid units to use the Land Rovers for urban driving. That's for the war front, for rough terrain. It's built for it. As a result, it's not cost effective to use them. Immediate instruction, no waste.
The entrepreneur in Dr. Goh also decided to take a shot at producing military hardware at lower costs.
One day, I remember I was asked to bring a M16 rifle to his office and to strip it right in front of him. He then went through the various parts and to identify which were the parts that were made in Singapore and which were not, which were imported. He then asked me to segregate the parts that were not made in Singapore into high-value parts and low-value items, and asked why the high-value parts were not made in-house. Well, this was really typical of his economist training.
He always asked the question as to whether part of this, the full equipment could be produced in Singapore with the technologies transferred to us, of course. Because he believed that with the large number of good engineers in Singapore, we should be able to absorb these technologies and sort of build up our own capabilities in the production and maintenance of these weapon systems, and perhaps later even to do R&D activities.
The first defense company to get going was the Chartered Industries of Singapore. More than just being self-sufficient, Dr. Goh also felt the defense industry could help kickstart Singapore's industrialization program. But there was to be no such thing as an easy ride for the defense companies.
He would never allow us to subsidize. Whatever we sold to MINDEF was international pricing. There was no subsidy. When I was in charge of CIS, the price of my bullets, he asked for international quotation and check. So we have a hard time.
A true visionary, Dr. Goh saw opportunities where others didn't. So the CIS also ended up housing the Singapore Mint, producing coins, using equipment and tool-making skills similar to those used for making weapons.
To enhance the technology level of our technical staff in Singapore in general, because many of these military equipment and weapon system consisted of very high technology, almost frontline technical know-how. And as long as they are available to us, I think his plan was we should acquire them and sort of jumpstart our high-tech industry.
It is a little-known fact today, but in the mid-1970s, the SAF operated a pineapple plantation and planted papayas too, on Dr. Goh's instructions. The pineapple plantation was at the Amoy Kui camp, home to the RSAF's 170 Squadron.
In a lot of our units, Air Force units, air bases, you can't grow trees. You got a lot of open spaces and you spend a lot of money cutting grass. So he felt that perhaps why won't we use that land and put it to economic use?
But although several thousand kilograms of pineapples were successfully harvested here each year, the pineapple project was eventually shelved after a few years. Those who had worked with Dr. Goh said he had another concern. The growing SAF needed the best brains it can get to organize and to maintain it. This led to the introduction of the SAF Overseas Scholarships in 1971. The first 5 SAF scholars included Prime Minister Lee Hsien Loong, Bui Tak Hap, and Lai Sik Kui. The award is second only to the President's Scholarship in prestige. But the ever-pragmatic Dr. Goh was mindful getting the best talents for the SAF didn't stop here.
One or two things had to be done. One was to open scholarship system to just not SAF scholars, but to others. To others doing local universities here. And we also monitor the people for fast track, not only SAF scholars, but others, people who we send to Sandhurst, people who send to Dantun in Australia, who actually come back with a degree. So they all go into this pool, this Wrangler pool, and they are monitored.
But Dr. Goh was dissatisfied about one thing, and that's the way instructions issued by MINDEF had no impact. simply because they were ignored. To test out his theory, he issued what has come to be known as the Nonsense Memo. This was a memo without any instructions, save for a passage from the Bible on Noah's Ark.
Units received it, the reaction was quite hilarious in the sense that people really did not know what to make out of it. I think some of them looked at it, pass it down to the subordinate and say, see what you can do about it. I think he was doing an experiment. I think, to find out whether, it's often said that military officers just take instructions and just do. They don't think.
While this episode showed Dr. Goh's sense of humor, it also proved his worst fears correct. Only 10 units responded to the memo. Some queried its objective. The rest mostly ignored it. At the end of the experiment, he wrote a paper, Noah's Ark Progresses Through the SAF, and circulated it to highlight how things needed to be changed. Dr. Goh was to serve twice as Defense Minister. By the time he left the ministry, he had built from scratch a fighting force of some 300,000 men. The SAF had gone from being resisted to being respected.